these are going. Don't have to worry about that. Yeah, you can just move this. That's fine. Okay. And you can start
For thousands of years, elders and knowledge keepers have used stories to educate future generations. Stories and words can help heal our hearts and make Mother Earth a better place for all people. This is Healing Hearts.
Hello everyone, welcome to Healing Hearts. I'm Tracy Koga. Well, we're dedicating the month of February to employment. Tonight we're going to be talking about finding that new job, and it can be daunting, especially if you don't know what you really want to do. For Indigenous and newcomer communities, this can be very difficult. We will be discussing the challenges, but more importantly, the resources that are out there to help and support and move towards successful employment. This is Healing Hearts, and we will continue right after this.
So the Hive is a climbing and fitness facility, so we're bouldering only, which means no ropes or harnesses. We use mats for protection. But the four pillars of our business are climbing, education, health and wellness, and community, and those aspects all kind of come together to create like a 5-star climbing experience.
Welcome back to Healing Hearts, and I have a very distinguished panel here that I will need my notes to introduce. So the person that I see to my immediate right on my screen here virtually is Ramir Diaz. He is Coordinator of Education and Training for the Manitoba Construction Sector Council. Welcome, Ramir, and I love the background. We'll have a story on that, no doubt. And then next I have Sanjana Vijayan, and she's from the Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce, and she is also Diversity and Inclusion Manager. So definitely a very, very important part of the Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce, and thank you so much, Sanjana, for agreeing to be on our panel tonight. And then from the City of Winnipeg, I have Diane Burrell. She is Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, too. Welcome, Diane. And then I have Jaira Love Saladaga Medina, and she is the Employment Facilitator for Opportunities for Employment. Welcome, Jaira. And then we have Sarah Kayas, Facilitator for Opportunities for Employment, and more importantly, Facilitator for Newcomer and Indigenous Employment Development. So all of you bring your expertise to this. I guess it's always been a big, important subject for Indigenous and newcomer communities, employment. And I guess, you know, speaking from a newcomer point of view, coming to Canada, coming to this new city, land of opportunity, freedom, I can be my own boss and I can have money and live and have a house. It all sounds beautiful, but in the reality of it, I think very, very hard. So really tonight, first of all, we're going to go around and please take time to explain a little bit about your job, but also too, I want to know your opinions on how far we've come. What do we have to do more? But also too, where is the helping hand? And I think that gets lost, right, in the translation of the whole pitfalls of finding employment. We tend to not look where there are resources for help, and hopefully by the end of this program we'll have a lot of opportunities for people watching to find their job and employment. So I am going to start with ladies first. Sanjana.
Thank you. My name is Sanjana. I moved to Canada in 2012. So I'm coming up on 10 years being here in Canada. And so, you know, my family and I, we had the quintessential experience of being newcomers to Canada and navigating the job market here. So very grateful to have this opportunity to share my lived experience, but also share some lessons that I've learned over the past 10 years. I'm currently the Diversity and Inclusion Manager at the Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce, where My portfolio is twofold. I work on the internal organizational commitments to advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion within the workplace. And then I also manage and lead the implementation of a program called CODE, which is a commitment to opportunity, diversity, and equity, which really supports businesses and organizations in Winnipeg on their own journey towards becoming more inclusive workplaces and employers. So yeah, that's really what I do.
Oh, it's so important. And yes, we'll get your comments more on the business side of it and how Winnipeg is really faring. Shira, nice to meet you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jaira, and I am one of the employment facilitators at Opportunities for Employment. I specifically facilitate self-marketing preparation workshops and also workplace preparation workshops. I was able also to cover our Canadian workplace culture workshops as well that we provide at Opportunities for Employment. And I was also able to participate and be part of our Career Pathways project that specifically caters to visible minority newcomer women. So those are some of the programs that we have at Opportunities for Employment, helping our community and our people here in Winnipeg to find work. And so in this case, we are very excited to be here and to share with you what we have and the services that we offer at Opportunities for Employment. Thank you.
No, thanks, Jaira. And Sarah, a co-worker.
Yes, hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah, and yeah, like what Tracy mentioned, I'm a facilitator. I'm quite new to my role, actually, as the Newcomer and Indigenous Youth Employment Development Facilitator. But I myself is an immigrant, and I am an immigrant, and I've moved here to Winnipeg with my parents and siblings in 2010. And then I actually moved back to the Philippines, where I originally came from, in 2017, and then moved back again here in 2020 summer, like end of August. So it was in the middle of pandemic. So I'm a newcomer myself, I would say. Even now, like I've been here for just about 2 years since I moved back. Yeah. So, and yeah, I'm learning a lot from Jaira. I have facilitated the Canadian workplace culture, and I have another workshop coming up this month, as well as next month. I will be facilitating the job retention for Indigenous youth workshop, and which we offer quarterly every year.
Oh, wow. So yes, we'll have to make sure that everybody hears about these workshops. And Diane, it's so nice to have you from the city of Winnipeg.
Yes, hello, Tracy. Thanks so much for having me. Good evening, everyone. I'm Diane Burrell. My pronouns are she, her, elle, and I am the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Coordinator at the city of Winnipeg. I've been in this role for 15 months now, and we've done some exciting work on the EDI front, the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion front. The city has last fall approved the very first EDI policy and strategy, and really excited to roll that out, start building the new equity office, and start developing programming that is responsive to the needs of the talent pipeline, be it Indigenous, newcomer. We're focusing as well on women, persons with disabilities, the 2S LGBTQ+, and I'm forgetting what, racialized people, sorry. So 6 equity groups that the city of Winnipeg is focused on. And a big part of the work that we're undertaking right now is we've expanded our self-declaration questionnaire to start understanding the full makeup of our workforce and making sure that we are working towards goals to be representative of the community we serve. So that's paramount and foundational, and more work to come. And I'll just add the community development area of the city has also established a newcomer welcome and inclusion policy and strategy since 2020. So amazing work's been happening there as well. So great progress, but still a lot of work to do still.
Oh, I know, but that's so exciting to hear. And you hit it on the nail, Diane, changing the look of our workforce. And last but definitely not least, Ramir, representing Manitoba Construction. And we were talking before we started this whole show that construction, well, that's kind of been pandemic free, because I think everybody now thinks that they can be a construction worker, correct? With all the renos going.
Yes, that's correct. And I just want to say hello, Tracy, and welcome everyone. My name is Ramir. I'm with the Manitoba Construction Sector Council. Just off the hop, what we do here is actually promote the construction industry to the underrepresented across the province of Manitoba. We are not per se directly a hiring agency, but what we do again is, we find skill gaps, create the training, and then train the underrepresented. Underrepresented includes Indigenous across the province, newcomers, women, youth at risk, and even reservists. But yeah, in terms of my background, this is my home that I'm working on right now, and I could probably be a DIYer, but sometimes I would just probably let the experts, do their thing, because I am a master of one. I am a licensed electrician, so I can do all the electrical that I love to do. But with other skilled trades that are out there, they have their craft as well, and it's definitely best to let the experts do their work. But also, if you're a go-getter, you always want to keep learning, and continued education is always a good way to go to find a job as well.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so now we have met all of our panelists, and part of this show, Healing Hearts, is, yes, it's information, but more importantly, it's sharing your story. So, Sanjana, you had mentioned right off the hop that you're an immigrant, coming here. I want to know, and for our viewers too, your journey to get to a position where you are now, working with the Chamber of Commerce, you dealing with business people. What is it like, and what steps did you do to get to where you are?
Yeah, so when my family, I moved to Canada with my parents and one of my sisters, and we went to an employment agency, and my sister and I were in the age group where we could go through employment training, which was paid, which was a really great opportunity for us, because at the end of the training, they helped match us with jobs. And my parents went through the same service agency, but unfortunately, all four of us, I was 18 and I didn't have, a college degree or work experience at all. But all of us got matched to minimum wage jobs at large corporations. So it was very disheartening right from the start to kind of, my parents had degrees and years of experience, and we were all matched to the same job. So my parents decided to look for jobs on their own, and my sister and I did our own research, found jobs in areas that we wanted to work at, and asked those employment coaches to help us land jobs in those sectors. So it's really important that newcomers know that they can advocate for themselves in these spaces, and not settle for jobs that they don't feel particularly connected to. And this was one of my biggest wins, I think, because it really set me up for success. I joined a really great company for 2 years, and that's actually where I met the person who referred me to the job I have now. So that was really neat. But in that space, I just spent time staying in the role, learning as much as possible, but just having that experience for 2 solid years allowed me to expand the jobs that I could move into. I went to university during my time working there as well, and I completed my degree in economics and political studies, and that really helped me bring together that EDI focus. Social justice was something I was always really passionate about, and I volunteered heavily during my time in university, and that also really helped me build my resume. Though it wasn't paid work, it really highlighted the skills that I can bring to a role. And I, again, relied heavily on volunteer work as I went into my job after leaving that first job that I got in Canada. So that's really how I navigated, to the place that I am today, is a lot of volunteer work and a lot of networking too. I maintained that relationship with those coworkers that I met at my first job there. And then 10 years later, they were able to refer me back to this role that I'm in now. So it kind of came full circle, and yeah, it's been a great process.
Oh, great. And what a beautiful success story. And definitely volunteerism is so, so important. Jaira, too, share your story, and then also maybe comment on, piggybacking on what Sanjana said, is getting yourself out there, right? I think for newcomers and Indigenous too, communities, we tend to kind of stick with each other as opposed to taking that big leap and seeing what is out there. But anyways, Jaira, let's hear your story.
It's very interesting because I'm actually facilitating self-marketing preparation workshop. And before the first time I facilitated the workshop, I told myself I should have taken this workshop way before when I came to Canada. I came to Canada in 2006 as a student. And while I was taking my degree, my first job was actually as a dishwasher in our school cafeteria. And in this case, somehow people say, oh, you're studying and then you're still working. And for me at that time, I needed to work because I want to make sure that I have some funds for the next semester, or I have funds for my books. I needed to be resourceful in befriending people that know someone who knows someone. So it's actually part of Sanjana's story as well, wherein you need to do some networking so that you're able to tap onto the hidden job market. And so then after I graduated, I was very hesitant to apply for a job because I'm not sure if I'm qualified. You doubt yourself even though you have the education, and most newcomers actually come to Canada with high education and don't know where to start, right? They are somehow expecting that they are able to go back to their careers or maybe start a little bit similar to their careers, but then because of the things that they need to do, they need to support their family, they try to go to the jobs that, as Sanjana mentioned, not really interesting for them, or maybe not matching the education that they had or maybe experience that they had back in their home countries. And so in my case, I said, okay, not a problem, I'll try my best. So as I have mentioned, I did a lot of networking, and there was one friend of mine who actually got a brochure from an organization, a government-funded organization that is actually focused on helping immigrants when it comes to their English for academic and employment purposes. So in this case, I said, okay, so my education is somehow connected to that, but I'm not sure if they're hiring. So this is one thing also that immigrants and even our Indigenous community are having a little bit of hesitation when it comes to applying, because, well, they're not hiring, why am I going to apply, right? So in this case, what I did was actually go there, submitted my resume, cover letter. I'm not sure if my cover letter and resumes are the right format. Now I know that they were not because now I'm teaching the right way of doing it. But in this case, just getting that step right there, having someone refer you, a friend probably who knows someone in the company that could probably help you out when it comes to what you need and what you probably, if you're very willing to volunteer at first, and then at least your foot is already at the door. And I know that there are times we tend to be so critical about ourselves, our skills. We are the ones that put ourselves down every time. But in this case, I think one thing that we need to remind ourselves is that, yes, there might be a very overwhelming situation right here when it comes to job searching, but we don't have to be too bad about ourselves. We don't have to put ourselves down. We don't have to be too critical. We need to remember the things that we have already accomplished, the things that we have already developed from the experiences that we have either from volunteering or previous job opportunities right there, and also the things that we are willing to learn. So we have to be open to learning new things, adapting to new trends, new ways of doing things, procedures maybe right there, or even just learning a different trade. If it's not in demand at the moment, the one that you are looking for, then look for something that is in demand at the moment. And while you wait for the other job, you try to develop yourself. Don't stop and get stuck. Continue to develop yourself. So in my case, I've gone through a couple and experienced a couple of different jobs here in Canada, and I'm very glad that I'm here at Opportunities for Employment right now, because then I'm able to share what I've experienced and what I've learned as well to our community, to our newcomers right there, and provide hope that it's not just about your past experience, it's about what you've learned from the past experience, what you have developed, and what you're doing right now. That's the most important part. What are you doing right now to be able to move forward, to be able to achieve that goal that you have? So at Opportunities for Employment, I'm really happy because the services that we offer are all for free. So if you need certifications, for example, for women's, or maybe safe food handling, we have first aid and CPR, even lift truck right there. They are actually being offered for free. So in this case, it is really nice if we can raise awareness to our community that we have these kind of organization, and there are other more out there that provides these services for free. So in this case, we hope that through this as well, we can encourage people, we can tap on people and able to share what we have, so that we can help as many newcomers and also our Indigenous communities as well as we can.
Well, and that was definitely one of the main things for this particular show tonight, is to know what the resources are out there. Ramir, so Winnipeg, we're like 6 degrees of separation. Obviously, we want to hear your story, but word of mouth. How far does that play into maybe getting a job, or even to learn more about construction and the opportunities there?
You know what? That's a good thing that you mentioned about that, because in the construction industry, there is, a lot of debauchery. However, when it comes to, networking and also, word of mouth and connecting with other people in the trade, it really does go a long way, because even if you just end up volunteering at a place that you never knew would know somebody in construction, that person may know somebody in the construction industry that may be hiring. So don't close your doors thinking because you're doing something else, volunteering at a silo mission or something like that. Always connect with people, hear where they're from, understand their background, and you never know who they know as well, So going back to my background, just a little tidbit on it is I'm Canadian, I'm transparent, but I am a minority, right? So when I started out as an electrician, I always thought that I wouldn't be able to do it. My family support wasn't there in reference to me becoming an electrician, as they think electricity is very, very dangerous and I'm going to be climbing poles all day. But for me, as I grew up, you know, I loved tinkering around electronics and toys like that used batteries and things that were plugged in with lights. And, you know, my friends, you know, in my close circle of friends just said, you know, go for it. And, you know, even just, you know, accepting that I should become one, you know, from someone from my outside source, you know, it was a lot for me to handle, but, you know, just pulling through, saying, you know, finding that in myself, thinking, you know I can do this. I've done it before. I've bought books. I understand Ohm's law already. So why not take the challenge? Now, there's another challenge in that. So let's say I want to become an electrician, or someone out there wants to be an electrician now, you know, because there's, you know, a lot of education going on right now, and it's a skilled trade. There are waiting lists. You know, other students want to become electricians as well. So there is the patience there of getting into a waiting list to become accepted, whether you are a mature student at post-secondary level. There are waiting lists there. And then on top of that, once you do get in, if you are going to go into skilled trade, you have to find an employer to hire you on and become an apprentice, so that you can actually gain these hours towards your apprenticeship, which will allow you to become, you know, a journey person. So there is some of that setback there, but for me, you know, if you're patient and you still continue to learn and you connect with people, there are ways that you can work around that. So it's an amazing thing to be in the construction industry, just because, you know, a lot of people may think construction, you know, that's very labor intensive. You know, you're working on a site all day, but it's not necessarily just about hammers and nails. You know, you can start out as a general laborer. You can learn a skilled trade. You can be in a supervisory or management role. You can even own your own company, but there's steps and processes to that. And again, don't limit yourself just what you see out on the street there as construction, because construction can mean, you know, you're running a project, you're estimating, you're in a supervisory role, or you have a skilled trade and you want to share that knowledge. So as a tradesperson myself, and how I became into the role that I am now as the coordinator of education and training for the Manitoba Construction Sector Council, was as a journey person. When I got my license, I said, woohoo, you know, I got my license, I'm done with education. But when I was actually out in the field as a journey person, mentoring, you know, another apprentice that's soon to be an electrician, you know, I guess my upper management or supervisory actually saw it in me that, you know, I make a good role model, I make a good mentor. Take some education so that you can actually share that skill. And from there on, you know, I took my courses, I have my certificates, and here I am now as the coordinator of education and training. But at the same time as well, I can go back on the tools if I ever wanted to. So that's kind of a good thing to actually have as something that you have, you know, just being in construction, a license, you know, Red Seal.
Well, I also hear you have drive and you have passion. So if we include it from everything, volunteering, networking, you know, just putting yourself out there, then I would consider passion too as well, and drive. Diane, I'm going to come to you now, and spilling on that, but also, you know, your position at the City of Winnipeg, and I kudos to Mayor Bowman, love him, changing, yes, the face of the City of Winnipeg, the council, but also the work that you are doing. So maybe let's talk more about that. But of course, we want to hear your story, Diane, your journey too as well.
Okay. Well, I have deep, deep roots here in Manitoba. I am a Red River Métis, and I am Francophone. And my journey it started in a small French town, Saint-Anne. And it was through volunteering, visiting the elderly at the local seniors home, that I got paid employment at the seniors home. So that was my gig after school, you know, throughout my high school years. So it was really, really wonderful to build those skills, interpersonal skills, communication skills, kind of navigating complexities of different, you know, personalities. So any job, you learn those skills. Any job with people, you learn those skills. I went to an all French school all through elementary and high school. And when I finished my grade 12, I received a scholarship to go to University of Manitoba. So I went from a fully French environment to a fully English environment and pursued my Bachelor of Commerce honors degree there. So a bit of a culture shock, a little bit of, there's no network yet. So a lot of work to build that network and immerse myself in the university life. And at the time that I graduated with my degree, there were 3 HR jobs on the board, and we were 50 to graduate from that class. So it was, a lot of competition and very difficult. But I think maybe set me apart was I went to the library, and there wasn't the internet to quickly look up on the employers. I went to the library, found the annual reports, and studied the employers that I was interested in. I was interested in 2 out of the 3, and landed a job at the one in one of their bridging programs. So that set the stage for my career, 15 years with that employer. And we moved out west for a time and moved back home during the pandemic. So it was tough to find, when the pandemic started, so it was a little tough to find work, but I was elated to see the EDI coordinator position open up at the city of Winnipeg and just went for it. And again, the passion, I've worked in the EDI world for most of my career. So it was something that I could bring to the table at the city of Winnipeg and contribute to moving the vision that Mayor Bowman has for the city and the whole council and the whole senior leadership team. Amazing support and great work underway. So I'm really proud to be there and contributing to that effort.
Well, and I will wrap up with Sarah, but that I have this question, and everybody can chime in. What is it, Diane, that now everybody is on the EDI? I love that acronym. And Sanjana's smiling, and Jaira's smiling, and maybe Ramir's like a little smiling, Sarah's smiling. Why is everybody now on the EDI bandwagon? Shouldn't that have been done like?
It should have, and efforts have been. The employment equity focus has been for decades, but to your point, there's not enough progress. There's not enough momentum that's being gained and sustained for underrepresented groups. So more effort is needed, and that, I think, is being recognized, particularly with the focus on human rights.
Yes.
The Human Rights Committee of Council that's been established, led by Mayor Bowman, and with great members contributing to the human rights focus at the city, driving a lot of the work that we're undertaking, really important work. So I think we want Winnipeg to be the human rights city, and so to get there, we need to really honor the journey of reconciliation, journey of inclusion, and that'll take us on our journey to human rights city. So that's
yes.
It's there, the commitment's there. It's just a lot of work to go yet.
And Sarah too. I mean, welcome back. We got you back. And maybe I'm curious, like, why Winnipeg, or was it you had family here and it made it easy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, it was my aunt who was the first one to move here. She's single, and we have a big plan. So my aunt is my dad's sister, and they are 12 siblings. And now 8 out of 12 siblings are here, plus kids and nephews, nieces, and we're like over 50 now. Like, was just started with one person. So
oh yay, you've increased our population numbers here in the city.
Yeah, and a lot of us got married and also have our own kids now. So so my parents moved here as part of the provincial nominee program. So it was a family application. My dad was the principal applicant, and we were all part of the application. Actually, there was an age limit, and it just happened that that was like the last year that we're going to be able to apply. And yeah, thank God it happened. So yeah.
Oh, and your job, you're loving your job?
Oh yeah. Um, yeah, I really love my job, that it is my favorite role at Opportunities for Employment, because I really love getting to know people, especially coming from different culture background. I love to travel. I've been to places like all over the world, in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and I've volunteered in some of these places as well. So it's so fun to meet newcomers and get to know about their culture. So actually, when I moved here, it's funny, it's interesting too when Jera mentioned that, she's facilitating the self-marketing preparation and she wished she knew about it. Now that I'm doing the Canadian workplace culture workshops, I I also thought, when I was a newcomer, I should have, there's something like this, like a workshop like this, that I should have attended to learn more about the Canadian culture. Because, well, actually, when I arrived with my sister, I went to Employment Solutions for Immigrant Youth, where we did some workshops. We learned about writing our resumes as well as cover letters and a little bit of the Canadian culture. But I think there's so much information that I didn't know about the Canadian workplace, which would really have been very helpful if I knew. So basically, I just learned through it as I had my own Canadian workplace experience. So coming to Canada, I had a degree as well as some work experience, but I also find out that, how Canada really emphasize continuous learning. It doesn't matter what age you are or what certificates or degree you are, but like, you're always encouraged to continually learn and improve yourself. So that's what I did. I did a certificate in management development, as well as certificate in teaching English as a second language. And then I also volunteered at Immigrant Center as an EAL facilitator, where they offer free English conversation classes. And I had students who are also immigrants like me, some refugees, international students. And it's been an amazing experience just getting to know people. Like, Winnipeg's basically a melting pot of all cultures. In my first year here, I actually volunteered at University of Manitoba with Power to Change. And I found out that U of M actually have like 100 nations represented. And so they're all here, right here in Winnipeg. And every day we welcome newcomers coming from different places, like places where we haven't been, or places that we may never go to. But it's amazing because we have the opportunity to actually meet them.
Yes, and I mean, that is such
and get to know them,
yes.
get to know other people's culture, about like helping others, especially newcomers, to learn more about the Canadian culture, because I believe it's very important to be successful in the Canadian workplace. Just learning what rules, unwritten rules that we need to know in entering an organization, for example, and how to navigate through that. And the difference in Canadian values, for example. And there's so much more information that, well, we offered the workshop for like a whole week. It's a 30-hour course.
Oh my goodness, so that's a big course.
This time is not enough to be able to share everything about it, but it's really a good workshop that I would recommend for every newcomer who's looking for employment as well.
Oh, so there's all of these outlets too to help and to support. Let's get back now, talking about opportunities and talking about present day. Sanjana, you're working again with the Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce, the business sector. We don't see, or are there more Indigenous, and I think there are definitely more newcomer representation, I guess, in business, as far as when we're talking about entrepreneurship and everything like that, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's Indigenous entrepreneurs that's the highest, so the most rapidly increasing number of entrepreneurs. So that's very, very exciting to see. And in terms of the business sector, going back to your question about why are people so, like, why are they paying attention to equity, diversity, and inclusion, is because there has just been so much research highlighting all the business benefits of diversity on teams. Not only does it improve employee engagement and innovation within the organization, it improves access to new markets where different languages and different cultures all contribute to helping an organization expand, whether nationally or internationally. But it also, all of these things have a direct impact on an organization's financial performance. So businesses and organizations are really paying attention to diversity, equity, and inclusion to not only become safe spaces for their employees, but to also start reaping the business benefits of doing so. And so now, we had a member survey that went out, and 7 in 10 of our chamber members have told us that diversity, equity, and inclusion is the top priority for them. And so this is like a very clear indication of the path that we're going down, where organizations and businesses really want to hire newcomers and Indigenous talent onto their teams, and they do care about the diversity of perspectives, ideas that you bring to the table. So, I would say don't be afraid to bring that in. We actually, I'm so happy and I'm proud to say that we hired a diversity, equity, and inclusion coordinator who's a newcomer to Canada, who came to Canada in 2020, and she just did a fantastic job of highlighting her skills and how, her experience might be with international organizations, but she still had the skills to carry out that job. And that was like a really important aspect of being successful in your job search.
Oh, wow. So there are so many exciting things. Ramir, construction. And then you're talking too, of course, you can own your own business and business owners, and correct me if I'm wrong, but construction, predominantly male, predominantly white. Is that changing? Because you're in education and training, are there more opportunities for Indigenous and newcomers coming in?
Absolutely. So yes, the construction industry, is a male-dominated Caucasian type industry, but it has been changing. It's not a rapid change; it's a slow progressing change, but it is changing. As myself, as a minority, as an electrician, when I first started out, I was probably the only, colored skin person in my class, and I was just like, okay, how am I gonna make this work? I'm short. I am dark colored, so I kind of had to make it work. And in this case, as a representative for the sector council and for the electrical skilled trade, it's changing out there. For the communities that are out in the province, we have Indigenous training available to remote communities. And what we like to do also is the instructors that are instructing the courses that we do have, is someone that is familiar with the community itself already. So it actually gives them that sense of like, oh, if they can do it, we can do it as well. And for newcomers, it's nice to know that a lot of the newcomers that come into Winnipeg, they have high education. It's how would I say it? It's high level. Like they come here with architect background, engineering backgrounds, and that's so awesome to hear and know. But in the construction sector in the construction industry, it's also, when they put in their resume, it's kind of like sounding like they're overqualified for positions at times. So I just wanted to say that, you know, with that in mind, it's not bad to just take a step back and learn the industry, you know, from the starter point of view, so that they can work their way up if they're interested in one type of industry. It's good to know the entire organization or the industry as a whole, and then work their way back up to, you know, that engineering position or whatnot. And that's just kind of how the construction industry works. But overall, there is tons of training available. We have a lot of resources. We are in partnership with, you know, with the Chamber of Commerce, with the City of Winnipeg, with OFE. Like we're all interconnected together, and all we got to do is just reach out and find supports that are available, and then roadmap or create a pathway for each individual, and then off they go.
Sounds like we just need a job fair with all of you there, and just, you know, handing out business cards and here, job opportunities. Well, and you know what? Hopefully when we can all be together, I think we really need this again. Jaira, you're nodding your head, and I mean, OFE sounds like an amazing place, and anybody that's just come to the city, please contact them. And it's interesting what Ramir just said. He's kind of telling you kind of the hierarchy, and here's how you kind of maneuver in the construction industry. Sarah talked about, you know, really getting to know the Canadian workforce. Jaira, how has the Canadian workforce changed? Or let's make it even more personal. How has Manitoba's workforce changed, or has it?
I believe our labor market right now actually is quite fluid when it comes to the in-demand jobs that we have at the moment, especially when it comes to the pandemic and so on. So in this case, it is really nice to, as mentioned by Ramir, it is really nice to somehow acknowledge when it comes to applying for a job, for example, acknowledge the skills that you have and highlight the skills. Maybe when it comes to the education, it's good that you have those certification, your education, a very high experience when it comes to the work experience that you have, but it would be nice if you can transfer your skills and highlight your skills in your resume and your cover letter right there to be able to start being in that sector that you are interested in and in the industry that you are interested in. And I would say that when it comes to Manitoba is becoming more open when it comes to welcoming newcomers, welcome Indigenous people in the workforce and including them in the workforce. I would say even at opportunities for employment, we have a couple of people who are Indigenous right there that are part of our staff and doing a really good job. And it's nice that they are able to also relate their story to our community and encourage them. And again, for us, for example, Sarah and I, we are also, I was once a new immigrant and Sarah's a new immigrant, and we can also share our story and we can also encourage them to be part of that workforce right there, not hesitating to provide the things that we can provide and share our skills to the community. And so in this case, it's nice to see that Manitoba is somehow opening up for these kind of opportunities, and businesses are becoming more aware of including employees that are from different cultures, different background, and also our Indigenous people in their businesses right there. So at opportunities for employment, we actually have a lot of employee partners that we endorse our participants to. So for example, if they have completed our manufacturing workshop, if they pass and completed it, they directly are endorsed to our employer partners. Let's say, for example, in manufacturing, we have Transcona Roofing, we have Palliser right there as part of our employer partners. We also have services for retail and hospitality as it is opening right now. And so with Canadians, for example, Starbucks right there, we also have partners such as Amazon, and so on. Off the top of my head, I cannot really memorize them all. But yes, this is actually a really good sign that somehow there's a chance and there's actually a light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to including newcomers, immigrants, refugees in the workforce.
Yes, and yes, that face of our workforce is ever changing. Diane, I want to talk more about our Indigenous community. We know that the newcomers, a lot of them, have come from a higher education background, have come from, maybe a better life or whatnot. For our Indigenous community, I mean, it is hurting, with in light of everything that's happened. Is there a sense of, or is there a way to lift them up, to lift and to maybe show them the way to, employment that is out there for them? And this is just my personal thought. The Indigenous employment community seems lost. In a sense, does that make sense?
Well, I think it makes sense, and I think that's kind of a legacy of colonization. The impacts of that are continue to be felt in all the Indigenous communities. So I think that journey of reconciliation is key to have organizations, employers stop and listen and hear the interests and needs of the Indigenous members in the community, to see how we can be responsive in our programming and just get out of the way so that there's a route in, right? And really helping remove those barriers for accessing opportunities, whatever they may be. So for example, our Indigenous Relations Division has a youth program called Oshki Anishinaabe Niganiwak. I think I'm pronouncing it well, but it really means youth Indigenous people leading, and the name was gifted by elders, Indigenous elders, and the whole focus is preparing Indigenous youth for employment or how to access civic services, and it's done in a very positive and culturally sensitive way, learning some of the traditions that may have been lost with some of the members of the Indigenous community. So there's a rootedness in sacred traditions together and building that sense of community. So the youth are empowered. They find their inner strength through that programming, and all the reports that I've seen and videos are so inspiring. So the Indigenous Relations Division is doing a lot of amazing work like that. Other services, Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Services is another, who's created a diversity and equity fire training program, and what they've done to remove the barriers to the training to prepare for a career in WFPS is offering the training to happen right in Winnipeg. Instead of historically, folks had to go to Brandon, relocate and go to the fire college there. Now the programming is on site evenings, so it doesn't disrupt with other full-time work, and just trying to ensure that they get the full opportunity to do the learning that would otherwise not have been available in order to secure an ongoing role. And the Winnipeg Police Service is doing similar work. And so it's exciting to see these types of bridging programs to just enable and increase accessibility to these opportunities that otherwise wouldn't have been there. So those are some examples of what's underway.
Oh, yes, and you're so right. We do have a lot of work to do, but I think recognizing it is, half the problem, or, half the way to a solution. And I think for the majority, we have recognized, and, we are looking for solutions. And like you said, it's just listening and including everyone as human beings. And I guess that takes me to this question. Good and bad. What is great or good about our employment situation? And in your own opinion, what needs to change? Where is there more work to be done? I'm gonna go with Sarah. I know this might be an unfair question to you because you're a newcomer, but you might have some opinions on that. That hey, we might have to. Oh, she's right.
Well, actually, I think what's good is that despite of what we're going through, like we're on a pandemic, but there are a lot of jobs out there, like thousands of jobs. I believe Manitoba has one of the lowest unemployment rate because we do have a lot of jobs here compared to like other provinces or cities. And what needs to change, I think, is actually just letting people know about these opportunities because sometimes they just don't know. So the challenge is how do we let them know? How do we connect to people and say, hey, there are a lot of jobs out there waiting for you?
Yes, that is the big $1 million question. Maybe we should do a little TikTok. That's what OFE should do there. Okay, Jaira, your little TikTok video. And so yeah, Jaira too, working at opportunities for employment. What's good? What's bad?
I think yes. The good part is that yes, there are a lot of employment opportunities. It's just a matter of raising awareness to let the word get out there and helping or equipping our community on how they can develop their skills, how they can present themselves to the employer, how they can ace their interviews, for example. And there are a couple of, or a lot of agencies out there too that are helping with this. When it comes to OFE, what we do is we actually assign an employment consultant one-on-one with the participant so that employment consultant would work hand in hand with the participant, getting to know their job goals, for example, and then helping them when it comes to their cover letter, resume, enrolling them or booking them into the appropriate or right workshops that we offer at Opportunities for Employment, and also engaging them into this workshop, training them, equipping them, and connecting them to the employer. And so in this case, if we could also have an opportunity to share it out there, probably that's a good idea when you mentioned, Tracy, that we should have a job fair that all of the services could actually get to know each other. And so we can refer everyone to them, refer all our clients to each other so that we can be able to help a lot of people and tap the hidden job market, and at the same time, even the visible job market, help them and equip them to be able to apply for those possible roles and opportunities.
Well, keep that in mind because when we're out of this pandemic, which I believe we are going to be this year, everybody's going to be racing out. Everybody's going to be wanting out. No more Zooms. No more doing this. We want to be in person. Sanjana.
So I think the good part is that from just like my work and my conversations with organizations and businesses every day is that people want to change and people want to be inclusive employers. So that's really great to see that they want to hire diverse teams. The thing that I think needs to change is precarious work and trying to go. I feel like there's been a lot of part-time and contract work that's coming up that keeps people in a cycle of instability. And we need to be, making available more permanent positions as possible as employers and organizations. That's my thing there, particularly for newcomers, particularly for Indigenous folks. That can really be a key to economic security that has impacts over generations. One thing that I will say in terms of your job fair and connections between employers and Indigenous folks as well as newcomers is that the Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce, in partnership with a lot of service agencies, OFE in particular as well, we're going to be launching a newcomer employment hub later this year. OFE is helping us pilot this program, and this will directly connect over 2,000 of our chamber member employers with newcomers in Canada and Manitoba. So this will be a really great way to facilitate those connections. And then we are also hosting an Indigenous specific job fair later in the year. It was supposed to be in March, but because of COVID, it got postponed. But again, we're inviting employers who have an active job opening so that they're not there just to spread the word about the organization, but they are there to offer a job to an Indigenous job seeker who's attending that job fair. So those are two things to keep an eye out for, and I hope folks who are watching this stay engaged with the Chamber for these opportunities.
Oh, that's fantastic. So they can all go to your website, right? The Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce, and those events will all be posted. That's fantastic news. Thank you, Sanjana. Let's go to Ramir. Good and bad. Or you're just going to say everything's good?
Oh yeah, everything's all good. No, there are some setbacks in the construction industry, and it is true. It's not necessarily always a win-win situation, but it is out there. You know, for talking about bringing up the Indigenous community, there is work available, but you know, there's always things that are required at a minimum basic, which is, you know, the essential skills, you know, the safety training, the liabilities. So it's not just you go into a job site and then you're hired immediately. You have to have some sort of understanding of what's going on, because in the construction industry, there's many moving parts and pieces. There's many different trades and sub-trades all working together. There's heavy equipment everywhere. So one of the things too, you know, in reference to a newcomer getting into a construction type of career is, you know, the communication. There are communication skill gaps that are huge leaps and bounds. They may have, you know, the skills overseas to run a project, to run a project management position, but the communication, the barriers, it's there. And, you know, that's where, you know, they should take training and have at least, you know, a CLB English or higher, you know, to understand the lingo in the construction industry. There's, you know, whether it's lingo out in the construction site or lingo in the office, you know, whether they're in labor, in skilled trades, operating heavy equipment, you know, just understanding, you know, all the moving parts when it comes to operating or running a position is to, you know, be at the same level of the communication within the construction site, right? Mm-hmm. And that being said, you know, there's a lot of opportunities available in the construction industry. Again, one thing too, and I may have said it already, is the work experience. A lot of newcomers, when they get an actual interview, you know, the employer will say, you know, we need at least a minimum of 5 years of Canadian work experience in order to get this position. So my encouragement is, you know, get a job that's closely related, not necessarily directly related, but it'll provide you with some Canadian work experience, whether it be communication skills, you know, operating some sort of equipment type of skills, networking skills, and it just keeps growing from there. So, you know, if they land a security job position in a construction site, they already have their foot in the door because they are in the construction site. They can start networking there. Yeah. Right. So there's many opportunities in reference to the construction career path, you know. And as the sector council, I just want to let everyone know that we are aware of the newcomer hub that the chamber is launching, and it was supposed to be launched next month, but I know the chamber has their deadline. But you know, the sector council is going to be the bridge from the construction industry to share all the career opportunities within the construction industry to be inputted into the hub. Oh, perfect. And talking about you know, the underrepresented, we do have our Women in Trades conference, was supposed to be next month, but was pushed back till November. But again, you know, it's right now in the construction industry, I believe it's about 4% of women in the construction industry. Not necessarily are they skilled tradespeople, However, for the women that are listening out there, if you're thinking of a career in the construction industry, it's solid. There's lots of opportunity to network, lots of things to learn, and consider a career in the construction industry. And the Manitoba Construction Sector Council has lots of supports, again, for women, Indigenous, and newcomers when it comes to construction career path.
Okay, I'll go get my hard hat and my steel-toed boots. I'm in. Sign me up. Security. That'll be me. Oh, and Diane, your comments, good and bad.
Well, the good thing is the city of Winnipeg is one of the largest employers in Manitoba, providing services to over half of Manitobans. So our job board is always full. Like today, there are 38 jobs on the board. And so I think to Jira's point, or Sarah may have said it, that getting the word out, or, we need to do maybe more work in that networking, promoting the vacancies, opportunities, and drawing the talent pipeline in. So the good part is, echoing Sanjana's words, the will is there, the desire, and the recognition of the value and the importance of diversity and inclusion, equitable representation of all in the community. The challenges are to remove all those systemic barriers that are very real. Mm-hmm. For example, looking at minimum qualification validation, what is absolutely essential for day one on the job in this particular career stream. Not adding things that aren't necessary, or recognizing that skills are transferable from other means. So just have what you need to do the job on day one, I think is going to be one of our first priorities at the city of Winnipeg, making sure that we're validating the minimum qualifications so that there are no inflated, no artificial, arbitrary, if you will, just making sure that everything is validated. So that, among other systemic systems reviews, finding those barriers is going to be the big, tough job that we need to do right now.
But it's certainly, I think the work is there, but I'm sure all of you here tonight are making that door a little bit wider for newcomers, Indigenous, and everybody to have a very fruitful and successful life through employment. And we've learned so much, and thank you so much for engaging in this conversation. It was so good, and I can't wait to be at that job fair and seeing, all of these smiling, happy faces getting employment. And yes, okay, some of you might have to spend 5 years being security on a construction site, but then Ramir says you will have a job. No, it's all good. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on Healing Hearts tonight, and have a very safe and wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone. Take
Nice
care.
meeting everybody.
Nice meeting.